Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Oddly Specific. A bit of an explanation has to come first. Last episode would have talked about me playing a game that I've already streamed, and that is because we shot that episode first, and then I streamed. So the way this is going to work is Oddly Gaming is part of the Oddly Specific umbrella, where I will stream some video games that spark joy, one of which was Catherine Fullbody, which is what this entire episode is going to be about. But I just want to explain why I streamed, but then an episode came out where I talked about me playing games. I will be playing more games under Oddly Gaming, but just about the timeline of those videos. Was not allowed to stream the ending of the game, so I am using this just to bring it all together to talk about my experience playing the game, to talk about Catherine and Catherine Fullbody. So, 2011, Catherine came out. I could not play Catherine in 2011, so I experienced it through playthroughs and other people playing it. And 2019 of September is when Catherine Fullbody came out, and I was pumped. I was ready to play it. I hadn't played the original Catherine until some years after it had come out, and so playing the game again, it was really nice. Catherine has always been one of my favorite games. I'm kind of in love with all of those characters. I think they're great. But in tone and in theme with Oddly Specific, I don't want to sit here and praise Catherine all day long. I want to talk about in the 8 years since Catherine first came out and Catherine Fullbody, what the game has disappointed me on. Catherine Fullbody is basically a reboot of Catherine. We have a new character, we have a new Catherine, and we have 2 new endings for the original Catherines. But most of the story is basically the same. There is a new kind of twist with Rin, who is the new Catherine, who I am sadly and ashamed to be dressed as. But there's a new storyline with that Catherine, and there's just some bonus things that weren't in the original game, and there's new music, and there's new side things, and there's new endings. As I said, you get 2 new endings with Catherine with a C and Catherine with a K. They're called true endings, and they're basically just things, they're just new endings. And I'm not really going to go over them too much because I haven't seen those endings myself. I've only explored them after finishing the game. But I would say it's definitely worth giving the game a replay. You could now see how I screamed and cried over those puzzles, but I enjoyed the game. My comments today are going to be about Rin, the new Catherine we get, and about the character Erica, who was in the original game and who's back around as one of Vincent's friends in Catherine Fullbody, and what Catherine has failed to do 8 years later. So, with the character Rin, we're giving the twist, and I can only speak for what I know from the fact that I play the game in English. I do not play the game in the original Japanese, so I don't know if there are mistranslations or other things that I'm not getting. I can only say for what I know has been said in English. I know some people have called Rin sexless or non-binary, and there was, of course, some controversy over whether or not Rin would be a trans woman when the game was still coming out before it came out. I am going to go with what it says in the English script, where Rin calls themselves a boy, so I will refer to Rin as a boy, just based on the script, not saying that that's any more valid than anyone else's interpretation of the game, just going off that because it will be easier to explain my thoughts. So the character Erica is Vincent's friend in the game. She is one of his high school buddies. She is really, honestly, his only good friend in that entire game. She is always on his side, even when he's cheating and being a bad person. She's there for him, she's supporting him, she's giving him encouragements. When he's falling in love with other people like Rin, she's supportive, she's caring, she's kind, and the game mistreats her very badly because Erica is a trans woman, and the game kind of uses her as a joke. Whereas in one of the new endings, in the true ending with Catherine with a C, Catherine, because she is a succubus, she's a demon, she changes the timeline where she goes back in time and meets Vincent when he's still in high school, They become like high school sweethearts. They're getting married. And Vincent tells her that he's happier than he's ever been. And in this timeline where Vincent is happy and a better person than he was in the game that we play and in any other timeline that exists, and this perfect world of Vincent, one of his best friends isn't trans, which is just a weird thing to add, that Erica in this perfect world for Vincent never transitioned, never came out. And it's just like, why? Why does that make him happier? Because it doesn't seem to affect him, but in this ending of the game, he's happiest when Erica isn't who she really is, which is very fucked up. And in other endings, and just through the main storyline, no matter what ending you get, there was the character Toby, who's another one of Vincent's friends, but Toby did not know them in high school. Toby's a bit younger, and Toby's very attracted to Erica, because Toby likes older women. And it's kind of used as like a gag that Toby has a crush on Erica, because the other guys at the table, the other guys that Vincent are friends with, all know that Erica is trans, and it's like this secret, and it's like, oh, do we tell him? And it's like, Toby likes Erica, and when Toby and Erica finally get together, and Toby announces to his friends that he has slept with her, they like react in shock and horror. And it's kind of played off as if we're supposed to be snickering. Like, we're supposed to be like, ooh, cringe, how could he do that? Like, ugh, that's so gross. They don't ever say it explicitly, but in, like, the reactions to Toby's crush on Erica, they're trying to, like, tell him, not to go for her. When Erica's a perfectly fine person, she's great. And, there's these little asides, and I think they might have, like, gotten rid of some of them, or maybe I missed them. In Catherine Fullbody, it's, she's, like, saying she wants to join, like, women's wrestling, and there are parts, I remember Catherine, when, just in general, she expresses wanting to join, like, an all-women's sports team, or just do something that is exclusively with women, and Vincent, kind of says, that's impossible, they'll never accept you, and it's kind of, like, hinting at, and we're supposed to guess why she can't do other things that women can do, because the joke that they're trying to get us to accept and to laugh at is that Erica is not a real woman. Which is why some people have shot down the theory that Rin would be trans, because the game has shown not to treat trans characters well. But the thing with Rin is, if Rin is a boy, and I'm going off Rin in the game saying I am a boy, in English. I don't know what he says in Japanese, so I can't really comment on that, but in the English script, Rin does say that I am a boy. For such a sexually explicit game, like, I've never seen a game where I've seen as many titties as Catherine, where I get there is an entire puzzle where you're chased by an ass, and then Catherine references doing anal sex with you. Like, it's such a sexual game. A lot of it is rooted in sex and rooted in, like, dirty comedy and stuff like that. For such an explicit game, they were very careful not to show any, like, physical affection once you know that Rin is not a woman. And that's kind of, like, maybe it's because of where the game was originally released and they couldn't do that, but it is, you notice it in the fact that and one of the good endings with Vincent and Catherine with a C, he's literally being caressed by all these demon women. He has, like, a harem of demon women with him, and there's lots of, like, jokes about him having sex with Catherine. And the ending with Catherine with a K, they're planning their wedding, and they're in bed together, and they're talking about having children. And there's just so many sexual references, especially when it comes to Catherine with a C. The girl fucking sends you nudes. But with Rin, every time they're about to kiss, when they get together, something else happens that stops us from seeing it. There's, like, a flash of light, so we can't really see it. They, like, kiss each other on the cheek. There's not a whole lot of, like, physical affection shown between the two of them, more than, like, a hug or something. And, like, I'm not demanding that they get naked. I just think it's definitely noticeable, and the fact that Vincent's relationships with women are allowed to be a lot more physical than Vincent's relationship with someone who is decidedly not a woman. Especially if they're also going to be making fun of a character like Erica, who is openly trans, and who gets treated kind of like a joke because of it. I'm guessing I feel like a lot of the things that I really had a problem with when I originally played Catherine, I feel like some of those things are gone, but there is still the fact that in the ending credits, Erica is not even called Erica. I believe in one of them she's called Eric, which is her dead name, which is strangely close to her new name. I don't know a whole lot of trans people who just put an A at the end of their names, and so goes like that, and that's it for us. I have heard and read that that's kind of like a stereotype, and that's a trope that that's not actively something used a whole lot, but that's not really my place to comment on whether or not her name is valid. But in the ending credits, or at least in one of them, she is misgendered. In her name, she's dead named. And one of them, again, she's not even trans. In the ending where it's Vincent's wedding with Catherine with a K, Toby is like disgusted because he's found out that Erica is trans, and he's just like grossed out and he doesn't like her anymore. And not even that he has to want a romantic relationship with her, and that anyone is owed a romantic relationship, especially in a game like this. But it's played off as a joke. Like, we're supposed to be laughing at him, or feel disgusted, or feel even maybe upset that she herself wasn't the one who told him, and it had to be one of Vincent's friends who pulled him aside and was like, hey, Erica is, it's just a weird element of the game. Like, I'm happy it has a trans character. It was, I think, one of the first games I ever played that did, and it introduced me to the trans community, a community where now a lot of my friends come from, a lot of people I care about come from, and that was my first introduction to it, which is probably pretty unique. I feel like a lot of other people didn't get that introduction from a game like Catherine, but that's where I got it. And, but they treat her very badly, and not even like she's not getting like abused or anything, like no one's pointing and laughing at her or calling her a freak, but it's just the treatment of her storyline. It's like we're supposed to be laughing, or we're supposed to be shocked and kind of disgusted, which is gross. And 8 years later, the game has not changed those aspects of Erica's character. But other than that, I do have those troubles with the game, and there are, I guess, they're pretty big things. But Catherine Full Body and Catherine as a game, I loved it so much. It's a very weird, wacky story. It's Vincent. You could watch me play most of the game, just except for the ending, because I've played it now all the way through. It's basically Vincent, because he's a dirty, dirty cheater, and before he even cheats, because he doesn't want to marry his girlfriend, he's sent to this nightmare where he has to climb a fucking wall while everyone else is a sheep, because that's how they weed out the men who don't want to procreate. It's weird. It's very odd, but it's such a fun game. It's so... And, despite all of my comments, I clearly love Rin. I think Rin was a great addition to the game. I love him. He will be my favorite character till the end of time. Before him, Catherine with a C was my favorite, because I guess I have a thing for succubus. It is one of my favorite games. I like it. It's a fun game to play. Oh my fucking god! I recommend it to people. It's just those two things kind of grind my gears. It doesn't make me hate the game. I think it's worth it to be able to talk about things that I might really dislike about it, but also find things that I really do enjoy about it without ignoring either of those two things when it comes to these kind of conversations. And really the only thing you would hope is that in the reboot that's 8 years later, they would have changed some of the way they treat certain characters, but they didn't. So maybe if there's a Catherine, another sexual innuendo, where there's a fourth fucking Catherine, Erica will get the treatment she deserves, but I'm not really holding out any hope. And this has been Oddly Specific with me, June. You could catch up on all my streams with Oddly Gaming. I will be playing more games soon, and I will see you next time.